Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the 5-game NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Monday, December the 28th. We got a 5-game slate for Monday. I'm back for this Monday slate to break down this slate. I haven't been able to get up any videos over the last few days. I've kind of been, just away from my computer, away from my apartment. Haven't been able to make any videos due to the holidays, having to travel a lot. I've been doing stuff with my family. But now the holiday season's over with, we can get back to the grind, back to uploading daily, getting out videos every single day for NBA. Still going to try and make some NFL videos as well. I know, with NBA starting up and NBA being, kind of hot right now, NFL content has kind of died down a little bit. You're not seeing as many views and stuff on NFL content, but I'm still playing NFL, still providing NFL content over on Patreon. So as always, you can check that out down below if you are interested. I am posting NFL and NBA content over on Patreon. I have a lot of additional stuff over there. Updated core plays, my rankings, my player pool, all that is posted on Patreon. So if you want to check that out, link is down below in the description. I do, make these videos on YouTube as sort of a first look, but if you want to get more up-to-date, in-depth content from me, that all can be found over on Patreon. But before we get started with the breakdown, guys, hit that like button. As always, I do appreciate the likes. Hit the subscribe button as well if you are new here. Click the notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload. You'll never miss out on any of my new videos. Always appreciate the likes. All of you that have subscribed to the channel, I greatly appreciate that as well. But yeah, guys, let's go ahead and take a look at Monday's 5-game slate. It's definitely an interesting one. It's going to be one of these slates where we're going to have to keep up to date with news. We've already seen it so far this season, especially on Sunday. With teams on back-to-backs, there's just going to be a lot of guys resting this year on back-to-backs. We already saw Anthony Davis get ruled out on Sunday. We don't know yet what his status is for Monday's game. With LeBron being on a back-to-back, we don't know if LeBron's going to play here. That is something we're going to have to monitor heading up to lock on Monday. Also, Kevin Durant, his status is up in the air. They already come out and said that he's going to play Sunday, and he did play on Sunday, but his status is uncertain for Monday's game. So Kevin Durant could possibly be rested on back-to-back. Even there's some other guys like Blake Griffin's already been ruled out on the back-to-back. Derrick Rose has already been ruled out. Or I don't think it's a back-to-back for Detroit. It might be the front end of a back-to-back, but Derrick Rose has been ruled out. So there's just a lot of guys out already. Could be even more guys get ruled out as the day goes on Monday. It's going to be one of those days where you need to keep up with injury news throughout the day. You always want to do that, but especially on a slate like this where you have teams playing on back-to-backs, especially with the COVID season, with it being a short rest for these guys. You're going to see a lot of guys rest this year. So we'll start off at point guard, start off at the top. You got James Harden, the most expensive option, $11,200 on DK. He's a shooting guard on Yahoo, but he's also one of the most expensive guys on the slate on Yahoo, coming in at $53. So we saw this scenario on Saturday. 4 or 5 guys were out for the Rockets. John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins, Eric Gordon were kind of the big 3 names that were out for the Rockets, and there was also some other guys that got ruled out as well. And we saw Harden play massive minutes. I believe this game did go to overtime. Harden played 43 minutes, had 79 Draftkings points. He was one of the top plays on Saturday's slate. He's going to be one of the top plays again for me. I mean, his price didn't go up enough. It only went up $300 to $11,200. We see this scenario. We saw it last year whenever Harden would play without Westbrook. Whenever Westbrook would miss games, he's going to be a usage monster. He's going to take 25, 30 shots. The ball's just going to be in his hands all game long. And even years before that, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when Chris Paul was on the Rockets, it would be the same thing. Whenever Chris Paul would miss games, James Harden would just be a usage monster. And with no John Wall, with no DeMarcus Cousins, those guys still out. Eric Gordon out as well. Harden's just he's going to be a usage monster. He's going to play massive minutes. The ball's going to be in his hands a ton. He's hard to get away from, even at $11,200. He's still going to project really well for that salary. He's probably going to project for close to 70 Draftkings points today. He's one of my top pay-up options once again. The price it didn't go up enough in my opinion. I'm going to be paying up for Harden on both sides. And with all the potential guys out today because of rest, there is plenty of value. You should be able to easily pay up for Harden at point guard or shooting guard. So definitely my favorite option at the top here. I do prefer him greatly over Damian Lillard. Now, LeBron James is interesting, so we'll have to see what happens on Sunday night. As I'm recording this video, that Lakers game is just about to start on Sunday night. We'll have to see how LeBron plays Sunday without Anthony Davis, and then we'll have to wait and see Monday if LeBron's going to play on this back-to-back or if Anthony Davis is going to play. If we get a scenario where LeBron plays and Anthony Davis is out again, then LeBron you can definitely look to at 10K. I did like LeBron a lot on Sunday's slate once we got word that Anthony Davis was going to be out. And if Anthony Davis is out again and LeBron plays, I do have interest in LeBron. Still prefer Harden over him. But like I said, there should be enough value. You could probably fit in 2 studs today at least. Maybe even potentially 3 if we get a lot of punt value, which we already have some good options, 4K and below on this slate. So that's kind of where I'm looking to at the top. I do prefer Harden and LeBron. Kyrie Irving is definitely interesting. So with Kevin Durant's status up in the air, if Kevin Durant misses this game, Kyrie Irving is definitely a guy I'll be looking to at 9K. We already did see on Sunday that Spencer Dinwiddie got hurt in the Nets game and he was not able to return. So there's a chance that Spencer Dinwiddie could also be out for this game. Like if we get a scenario where it's no Dinwiddie, no Durant, I really like Kyrie at home against Memphis, a fast-paced team that's not too good defensively. It is a really good spot for Kyrie Irving. At 9K, he would be another strong pay-up option at point guard. Probably would rank him ahead of LeBron if Kevin Durant winds up out. I think I do prefer Kyrie for a little bit cheaper. But still, Harden's my number 1 pay-up option here. Definitely have interest in Kyrie, though. He would become a very strong play if Kevin Durant does wind up out for this game. John Morant, don't mind him against Brooklyn, but I think he's so closely priced to Kyrie. Probably would just rather get up to Kyrie. SGA is going to be a guy that I play a lot this year. Like he's just going to be a usage monster. No Chris Paul, no Dennis Schroder on the Thunder anymore. SGA is just going to take a ton of shots. He's a guy that can contribute in all categories. He can get rebounds. He can get assists. He can get defensive stats as well. Like he didn't shoot the ball too well last game, and he still scored 46 Draftkings points. Like this is going to be a guy that puts up 35, 40 points almost on a nightly basis, and he's going to have big games where he shows 50, 55 point upside. Not the best spot against Utah, slow team that plays good defense, but still, I just think SGA is going to be such a usage monster this year. He's going to be a guy that I want to, play whenever the price is right. On this slate, probably more of a tournament play, more of a lower-owned guy, because there's going to be other guys that project better at his price range, but still would be someone I would want exposure to in tournaments. Scrolling down, not much really stands out in this mid-range. I think if Anthony Davis is out again or if LeBron even winds up resting on the back-to-back, then Dennis Schroder for 6,100 could become very interesting. I did like Schroder a lot on Sunday's slate once Anthony Davis got ruled out. I felt like that was a pretty solid boost for Schroder. You're just going to see more usage with a high-usage player like Anthony Davis off the floor. We'll have to see what happens with the 2 big Lakers stars for this back-to-back game. If one of them winds up out, or even if they both wind up out, then Dennis Schroder will become a great option at 6,100. Really good matchup against Portland, a team that we know is not too good defensively. They did add Robert Covington, which I think will make their defense better, but fast-paced team still, a team that likes to push the ball. This game should be one of the more high-scoring games on the slate. I do like Dennis Schroder in the mid-range at 6,100. Scrolling down, there is one value guy that I really like at point guard. DeLon Wright for 4,600, I think, is looking like one of the better values right now. Pretty cheap on both sides, 4,600 on DK. Coming in on Yahoo, only $11 over there, which I think is probably where he looks the best, close to minimum salary. Really like DeLon Wright here. Coming off a big game. Now Derrick Rose is out for the Pistons, which is going to just make me feel even more confident in DeLon Wright. That's one less guy that could take minutes away from him. He's coming off a game against Cleveland. I believe was an overtime game. He did play 42 minutes, had 35 Draftkings points. Like, DeLon Wright is someone, especially when he was with the Mavs last year, like, he's a guy that can be productive when he gets minutes. He's never really been a guy that's gotten to play consistent big minutes just because, he's kind of been a bench guy his whole career. But now that he's on a pretty bad team, now that he's on the Pistons, like, he's one of their better players. I mean, he's in their starting lineup. He's probably one of their better guards alongside Derrick Rose. So, I do like DeLon Wright here at 4,600. He is someone that I will be looking to as a value play. I think he does benefit a lot with Derrick Rose out for this game. I think it's just, like we saw in the opener, DeLon Wright only played 19 minutes even though he started. I think most nights, Wright's minutes are going to be up in the air. Some nights he'll maybe play big minutes if he's playing well. Some nights he may lose minutes to like Hayes or to Derrick Rose. But obviously tonight with no Derrick Rose, I don't see really Wright losing minutes to anyone else. So I think there's going to be plenty of minutes for him. And against the Hawks, a great matchup. I really like DeLon Wright at 4,600. Definitely a value play that I'll be looking to under 5K. I think Hayes benefits with Derrick Rose out as well, but he really hasn't been good at all. 2 games, he's only played 21 and 20 minutes. Hasn't been very productive either. Obviously, no Derrick Rose is going to be beneficial for Hayes, but I think overall, I'd probably rather get up to DeLon Wright. I just think he's going to be the more productive player. I just think he's a guy that, has upside, whereas Hayes hasn't really shown much upside yet as a rookie. George Hill, I don't mind. It looks like he's going to be the start. He's going to be the starting shooting guard for the Thunder this year. He only played 24 minutes in the starting lineup, but he did have 34 Draftkings points. If they're going to continue to start George Hill, I don't know how many minutes he's going to play, but if he's going to get mid-20s to upper 20s in minutes, could be a value play worth considering. Obviously, he's nowhere near as good of a value as he was on the last slate when he was 3,400. Still a guy I have some interest in, though. Would definitely prefer DeLon Wright over him, but don't mind George Hill. I would at least have him in my player pool on this slate. But really, I think that's it for point guard. We can go ahead and move on to shooting guard now and talk about this position. So at the top, there is a guy that I want to mention here at 6,600 that I really like, Caris LeVert. Assuming that Kevin Durant misses this game, which seems likely, I think LeVert is a very strong play at 6,600. I like him a lot on Yahoo as well. Pretty affordable over there, only $24. So right now, like I said earlier, it seems likely that Kevin Durant misses this game. They already said that his status is uncertain, which makes me assume that he's most likely doubtful for this game. They're going to rest him on the back-to-back. And we also got the injury to Spencer Dinwiddie. So Dinwiddie got hurt in Sunday's game. We don't know his status yet, but it's likely that he misses this game as well. If we get no Durant and no Dinwiddie, I mean, it's just going to be Kyrie Irving and Caris LeVert doing all the heavy lifting for the Nets on Monday night. They're going to get all the usage. They're going to be two very strong options if Dinwiddie and Durant wind up out. And LeVert at only 6,600, this is a guy that has a ton of upside. He's a high usage player. He's a guy that, even playing alongside Kyrie and KD, he can still put up numbers. Obviously, he's not going to be nearly as productive this year playing alongside those two guys. But like I said, we have a scenario here where most likely Kevin Durant's going to be out and Spencer Dinwiddie might be out as well. It's just going to be LeVert and Irving taking all the shots, getting all the usage for the Nets on Monday night. And at 6,600, there is plenty of upside for Caris LeVert at this price tag. I would assume that he does move into the starting lineup if Durant and Dinwiddie wind up out, but I guess that'll be something we have to keep an eye on. Even if LeVert comes off the bench, I still like him a lot. The usage is going to be there. He's a very productive player when he gets minutes. In a matchup against Memphis, fast-paced game that should be high-scoring. Really like Caris LeVert here in the mid-range. Definitely one of my preferred shooting guards to go to in the mid-range. Do like Dennis Schroder as well. We talked about him earlier. If AD winds up out again, or even if LeBron rests on the back-to-back, then Dennis Schroder could be a guy you look to at 6,100. Not much stands out, though, below 5K besides the guys we already talked about, like DeLon Wright, you can play at shooting guard. We mentioned George Hill. I don't mind going to him either. Really, though, I think that's probably it for the shooting guard position in terms of really cheap plays. Like, David Nwaba got the start for the Rockets, but he did play solid minutes. I mean, he played 27 minutes, but he still wasn't too productive, only 18 Draftkings points. Even if Nwaba starts again, probably won't be a guy that I look to. Just don't think we really need to go there. Playing alongside Harden, I don't expect Nwaba to be too productive on a point-per-minute basis, so probably won't be a guy that I look to. Really, I think that's it for shooting guard. I don't really see much else that stands out here. Sterling Brown was someone that I did have interest in on the last slate. He's small forward, so I guess we'll talk about him when we get there. I thought he was shooting guard, but we'll talk about him when we get to small forward. I think he could be interesting again. But at the small forward position, you obviously have LeBron at the top, who, assuming if he plays today and maybe Anthony Davis winds up out again, then obviously LeBron will become a very strong play, but still I think I would have him rank behind Harden. Probably would have him rank behind Kyrie as well, assuming that Dinwiddie and Durant wind up out. Michael Porter Jr., Will Barton, I think these guys are fine options, but not really guys that stand out, when I just look at this slate. These aren't guys that I feel like I have to have. 6,500, 6,200 for Barton and MPJ aren't really price tags that I think really stick out. There's definitely other guys I'd rather go to. Kyle Kuzma is definitely going to benefit if one of LeBron or AD winds up out, but at 6,100, that is a pretty hefty price tag to still pay for Kyle Kuzma. I know he's really cheap on Yahoo, so if I was going to look to Kuzma, it would definitely be on Yahoo. I played a ton of him on Sunday's slate because he was minimum salary, and once again on Monday's slate, you have Kuzma coming in at minimum salary, so if LeBron or Davis winds up out, Kuzma at minimum salary, very, very good value play on Yahoo. DraftKings, 6,100. Probably other ways I'd rather spend my salary. Honestly, I think I'd rather play Jeremy Grant over him. 5,900 for Jeremy Grant. Seems like a lot to pay for him, but I expect Grant to be pretty productive this year on the Pistons, on a new team. He's just going to get way more usage, playing alongside Jokic, Jamal Murray when he was on the Nuggets. Obviously, he's not going to be nearly as productive playing alongside those two guys, but on this Pistons team, there's no really high-usage players, and honestly, the two high-usage players are going to be out in Blake Griffin and Derrick Rose, so I think we see a solid game from Jeremy Grant. Price tag is, not ideal at 5,900, but this is still a guy that has upside, can definitely double-double, can give you 30 plus, 35 plus DK points. I do like him a lot here against the Hawks. I think he's probably one of my preferred options to go to in the mid-range at small forward. Him and Karis LeVert are the two guys that definitely stick out in the mid-range to me. But then scrolling down, looking for value, like Daniel House played a ton of minutes. He played 38 minutes, but he wasn't very productive, only 18 Draftkings points. He does benefit with no John Wall, with no Cousins, with no Gordon. Still, though, playing alongside Harden, Daniel House is not going to be a high-usage player. He's not really going to contribute much. He's going to play big minutes, but at 4,800, you still need him to put up like 30-plus DK points to be a really good play at his price tag, and I just think there's other guys that can give us that for cheaper that I'd rather go to. So looking for some other values, Josh Jackson is someone that I do want to talk about. I think he looks like one of the other strong value plays. Him and DeLon Wright are the two guys that really stand out for me in terms of like cheap value. Jackson's coming in at 4,200 on DK, also coming in very cheap on Yahoo, minimum salary over there. So him and Kyle Kuzma look like two great value plays at forward, both minimum salary. So with Blake Griffin out, I'm assuming that either one of Josh Jackson or Sekou Demboya, however you say his last name, either Jackson or Sekou is going to get the start in place of Blake Griffin. Jackson is the guy that I prefer. Even if he comes off the bench, he's just a way more productive player, and we've seen that so far this year. He's played 29 minutes in their opener, but then only played 19 minutes the game after that. But he was still productive on a point per minute basis. Gave you over a fantasy point per minute in both games, 32 DK points in 29 minutes, 20 DK points in 19 minutes. With no Blake Griffin, that's more usage to go around, more minutes for a guy like Josh Jackson, and this is a guy that is very productive when he gets minutes, could definitely give you 30 plus DK points even in only 22, 23 minutes. At 4,200 against the Hawks, especially if he starts, he's going to be a top value play. Even if he comes off the bench, though, I still have a lot of interest in Josh Jackson. Should be one of the big beneficiaries with Blake Griffin out today, and for 4,200, there is plenty of upside for him at that price point, given the matchup against Atlanta. So I like Josh Jackson a lot as small forward. I think he's a very strong play, strong value that you can look to at this position. But yeah, I think that's probably it. Like Sekou is 3,400, so I guess if Sekou starts in place of Blake Griffin, he is someone that you could look to. I don't know what his minutes will look like if he does start. He could play 30-plus minutes. He could play 22 minutes. We don't really know here. If he does, start at 3,400, if you need a punt option, he is definitely in play. But if I can only choose one of Sekou or Josh Jackson, I would greatly prefer Josh Jackson, even at a more expensive price point. I think Jackson just gives you more upside. He's a more productive player on a point-per-minute basis, and he's the guy that I would rather go to, especially if Sekou starts and he becomes really, really popular. I would definitely just rather play Josh Jackson in tournaments. It just gives you more upside, and he's going to be lower owned. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on. Well, I guess there's one guy I want to talk about, small forward. So if Kevin Durant is out, Taurean Prince is only 3,100. I assume that Taurean Prince would start in place of Kevin Durant, but that would be something we need to monitor. Luckily, this is one of the early games, so we'll have that starting lineup before lock. If Durant winds up out and Taurean Prince does start, for 3,100, he becomes a very good value play. Another guy you could consider for really, really cheap that would become a decent punt value. But let's go ahead and move on to the power forward position. So obviously, a big injury to watch here is the status of Anthony Davis. He was ruled out for Sunday's game. I don't believe it was because of rest. He actually had an injury. It was a calf injury that ruled him out for Sunday's game. This is the second half of a back-to-back, so they could have just ruled out Anthony Davis because they wanted him to play this game, or they could have ruled him out because he's actually hurt and he's not going to play again. We don't really know yet. If Anthony Davis plays, it is a good matchup against Portland, but I still think I would greatly prefer Harden. If Kevin Durant's out, I'd greatly prefer to go to Kyrie Irving. I don't mind AD, but he would be, probably one of my lower-ranked studs. Looking at all the other pay-up options, he would be towards the bottom of the list. Kevin Durant, I'm not expecting to play, but I guess if he does play, 8,600 is a very nice price tag for Kevin Durant. His price has definitely come down. I believe he was 9,300 on the last slate. He hasn't been too productive, these last few games, but a lot of that's been due to blowout. He hasn't really gotten his full complement of minutes. Only played 25 minutes in their season opener. The game against Boston wound up being a blowout as well towards the end, and Durant only played 33 minutes. I think most games we're probably going to get 35, 36 minutes from Kevin Durant. If he does play, he's in play for sure at 8,600, but like I said, I'm most likely expecting Durant to be out, given that they already said he's uncertain for this game because of the back-to-back. John Collins, I do have some interest in at 7,600. We don't know yet the status of Clint Capella. I believe Capella is questionable for this game. Let me check that real quick. Oh, he's actually probable. So Clint Capella is expected back for this game, which I guess is a little bit of a downgrade for John Collins, but still, at 7,600, that's a nice price tag for Collins. He dealt with foul trouble in that game against Memphis. He only played 27 minutes because of foul trouble. I was very high on Collins that game because of, Capella being out. Or it was actually the game against the Bulls that was the game that I played a ton of John Collins in. That was another game where he dealt with foul trouble. Like, fouls have been an issue so far, but if he's not in foul trouble, Collins is going to play over 30 minutes. He's going to be a very productive player when he's on the floor. Even with Capella back, Collins can still put up 45, 50 DK points. I do have interest in him at 7,600. Montrezl Harrell, 7,500. I think that's just too expensive of a price tag to pay for Harrell. He's been really good so far with the Lakers, and even if Anthony Davis is out, obviously Harrell is going to benefit a lot with Davis out if he's out again, but 7,500, I don't think I can pay that price tag for Harrell. I think there's other guys that I would rather go to. I'd just rather play John Collins for only $100 more. Scrolling down, looking in the mid-range, Kuzma we talked about is going to benefit if LeBron or AD winds up out, but for 6,100, it's probably a little bit too much to pay for Kuzma in my opinion. Jeremy Grant, like I said earlier, I do have interest in. Darius Bazley, I liked a lot on the last slate. He was 5,100, good matchup against Charlotte. Tougher matchup here, and the price tag came up, so I'm not as high on Darius Bazley. He was really cheap on Yahoo. His price tag still really low over there. He's only $14 on Yahoo, so I definitely like Darius Bazley on Yahoo. I like him a lot more over there. Now, Josh Jackson for minimum salary, probably would prefer, but Bazley is definitely in play as a cheaper option. If I'm going to play him today, it's definitely going to be over on Yahoo. But like scrolling down in the mid-range, not really much stands out. Getting below 5K if we're looking for value here. We talked about Daniel House, who's going to play a ton of minutes, but he's not going to be too productive. Kind of the same with PJ Tucker. Like PJ Tucker played 43 minutes, but still only scored 24 DK points. You're going to get big minutes from House and Tucker, but you don't expect them to be really that productive playing alongside James Harden. So probably don't want to go there. Tate could be a value play. Jashawn Tate, I don't really know much about this guy, but he was one of the bench guys that got big minutes for Houston in their last game. I thought it was going to be Sterling Brown that got the big minutes off the bench, but it was actually Tate. He played 37 minutes. He wasn't insanely productive, only 23 DK points, but if they're going to give him big minutes off the bench again, with all the injuries or with all the guys out right now because of COVID, no John Wall, no Cousins, no Gordon, if Tate's going to get 30-plus minutes off the bench for 4,100, could be a value play you go to. Obviously, there's other guys I'd rather go to, like Josh Jackson, who we talked about. Even Sekou you could play for cheap. If Taurean Prince starts for KD, you could play him at 3,100. But I wouldn't mind Tate at 4,100. He's someone that at least would be in my player pool if I was playing a lot of lineups. But yeah, I think that's probably it for power forward. I think we kind of covered everything at this position. So let's go ahead and move on to the center position. We'll talk about center real quick before we do end the video. So at the center position at the top, you got Jokic for 9,800, who I do have a lot of interest in here. Probably would still have Jokic ranked behind Harden for sure. Probably would have him ranked behind Kyrie as well. It would be close between him and LeBron. If AD winds up out again, I think I would give the slight edge to LeBron over Jokic. But Jokic I do like here against Houston. Really good matchup. I don't expect this Houston team to be that good defensively this year, especially against bigs. Christian Wood is a great offensive player, but he's not that good of a defensive. He's not a good defender at all. This is a matchup where Jokic should have a lot of success. This is a game that I think can be very high scoring. It should be close as well. I do like Jokic a lot here, and I already know I'm going to be playing James Harden today. I might even be playing multiple Rockets, so gives you some positive correlation if you have someone on the Nuggets side, because if this game does wind up being a shootout, which is possible, you could get some positive correlation there with Jokic, Harden, and maybe Christian Wood like in a mini game stack. So I do like Jokic. Probably would have him ranked behind. Definitely would have him ranked behind Harden and Kyrie if Durant's out. It'd be close between him and LeBron if Davis is out. Probably give the slight edge to LeBron, but I do have interest in Jokic at the top for 9,800. Great spot for Jonas Valanciunas against Brooklyn. Brooklyn has been a team I've always looked to attack with opposing big men, and a guy like Joe Val could just go out there and absolutely smash against this Brooklyn front court. DeAndre Jordan, Jared Allen, those guys are not defenders we should be worried about at all. DeAndre Jordan at this point in his career is not a guy I'm worried about on the defensive end. This is definitely a spot where we could get a big double-double from Jonas Valanciunas at 7,700. I like him in the mid-range, but I think he's closely enough priced to Christian Wood that I would rather save the salary and play Christian Wood. Christian Wood's a guy I have a lot of interest in, man. This is going to be someone that I play a ton this year, I can already tell. He's going to be a fantasy monster this season, even when the Rockets are fully healthy, like Wood is still going to post big numbers. First game with the Rockets on Saturday, he had a massive game, 53 Draftkings points in 44 minutes, 31 points, 13 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 block in those 44 minutes. Took 22 shots. Like, he's going to get a ton of usage with no Wall, with no Cousins, with no Gordon. It's going to be Christian Wood and James Harden just running the show for this Rockets offense over there, however many games they play until those guys come back. And at $7,200, I know the price tag came up, but that's still probably too cheap for Christian Wood. If he's going to be playing these massive minutes, which seems likely, it seems like him and Harden are going to be playing close to 36, 38 minutes a night while Gordon, Wall, Cousins are all out. So I like Christian Wood once again. He's one of my favorite plays once again. $7,200 on DK. Yahoo, he's a power forward, and he's coming at $34. Price tag came up over there, but still have a lot of interest in Christian Wood here. Him and Harden are definitely going to be 2 building blocks for me on this slate. Going to be 2 guys I'll start with, and have no problems playing them together because we saw last game, Harden can easily put up 70, Wood can easily put up 50. Like, the offense is just going to run through those 2 guys, so those are the 2 guys I do want to start with from the Houston side. But yeah, I mean, in the mid-range, not much else stands out. Like, Nurkic is somewhat affordable at $6,800. He's been disappointing, though, to start the season. I like Nurkic a lot on the last slate against Houston, and he did get solid minutes, but he still wasn't that productive. Only 36 DK points in 35 minutes. Like, normally, if Nurkic plays 35 minutes, he's scoring like 45, 50. It's kind of been it's definitely been disappointing to see him, not be as productive this year. But still, this is a guy that can be very productive when he gets minutes. If they're going to give him 30-plus minutes at $6,800 against the Lakers, I do like Nurkic in that mid-range. Again, he's so closely priced to Christian Wood that I would just rather play Christian Wood. But I do like Nurkic. Definitely someone that will at least be in my player pool. In the mid-range, like under 6K and below, like Mason Plumlee should get big minutes with Blake Griffin out, but at $5,700, I don't know if I want to play that price tag for Mason Plumlee. If I was going to play him, I think it would be on Yahoo, where he's a lot more cheaper, or he's a lot cheaper over there. He's only $16. Like, if I had to pay, or if I had to play Mason Plumlee today, it would definitely be on Yahoo. But yeah, it's a good matchup against Atlanta. He should benefit with Blake Griffin out, so he's at least someone that I would be considering in the 5K range. I would say, like, out of all the 5K centers, Capella, Plumlee, Allen, Millsap, Jordan, that Plumlee is definitely my favorite out of all those guys. But then under 5K, if we're looking for value at center, I mean, there really isn't much value that stands out. Even if Anthony Davis is out again, like, I don't really want to go to Marc Gasol just because he's not going to get a ton of minutes. There's really no cheap plays that stand out at center, so I think we kind of covered the center position, guys. I think we broke everything down for Monday's 5-game slate. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. I do greatly appreciate you watching. If you enjoyed, hit that like button before you do get out of here. Hit the subscribe button as well. Be sure to click the notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload. You'll never miss out on any of my new videos. And if you do really enjoy my videos, if you enjoy the free content that I post on YouTube and you want to get more content from me, you want to see more that I have to offer, I do have a lot of exclusive content available on Patreon. You can check that out, link down below in the description if that is something that does interest you. I have a lot of updated stuff over there that I post throughout the day. I do post NFL and NBA content on Patreon along with MLB, so you can check that out. Link down below in the description. But yeah, guys, best of luck on this 5-game slate. Hope you guys win some money. Good luck, and we will see you in the next one. Peace.